What an absolutely tremendous weekend that we just experienced. The memorial of Charlie Kirk was the largest tent revival that the world has ever seen. Every single speaker, whether they were a actual pastor or just a personal friend of Charlie Kirk or a employee of TPUSA or the Secretary of War, the Vice President of the United States, and indeed even the President himself, Donald J. Trump, each and every one of them lifted up the name of Christ in that memorial, which is something that I never thought I would ever see, much to my own shame. That is a lack of faith that God would not use a moment like this to revive our nation. And I've seen it happen on a more personal level as well. I attended a vigil the day before yesterday in Lakeville, Minnesota, where I saw people take the altar call, right? Come to Christ. We saw it yesterday during the actual memorial service where Charlie Kirk's pastor invited people to dedicate their lives to their Savior, to the Lord Jesus Christ. And when I was at the vigil in Lakeville here in Minnesota, A.K. Kamara, who's the Minnesota Republican National Committee man, was there as well, and we were chatting afterwards. And he made the observation. He said, there are thousands of these events going on right now all across the country and all around the world. Like, imagine how many people are coming to Christ. And Erica Kirk said it herself when she talked about the fact that people are opening their Bible for the first time in years. They're going to church for the first time since they were kids. All of these things. And it's all true. It's all just objectively true. And so this is tremendously hopeful for not only the direction of the United States, but the direction of humanity, the direction of the world. And what I want to share with you today is an example of a conversion that is very similar to my own awakening that I experienced when I was a young man, when I was a teenager. So what I'm going to share with you here is this is a video of a black man, a young black man, who, watching all of the reaction from the left, all the vile vitriol that the left has been spewing in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, was prompted to check out Charlie Kirk, to actually watch his videos, his clips. And he amazingly realized, what are you guys talking about? Like, the reality of who Charlie Kirk was, the reality of what Charlie Kirk had to say is 180 degrees the opposite of everything that these leftists are spewing about him. And it awakened him. That's as much as I'm going to say for right now. I'll have much more to say after we watch this. And let me just, I'm going to acknowledge that what you're about to see is a video of a guy watching a guy do a video. It's a little bit meta in that sense. We're doing a little bit of like the Hall of Mirrors here. But it is very much worth the effort. So let's take a look.
Let me just clarify. Y'all made me obsessed with Charlie Kirk. This came out of the blue for me. I never cared for bro content like that. Nothing against what he said. I was just never interested in clicking his videos to see what he had to say. But y'all made me deep dive and go down this rabbit hole because there was no possible way that y'all seen the same video I saw and half the world rejoiced it. And I'm just sitting here like, there's no way. Immediately I'm sitting here like, bro, nobody deserved to go out like that in front of all them kids, in front of his family. And y'all rejoiced it. Y'all celebrated it. And y'all ain't even had nothing to do with it. So I said, bro, he must have said something. I'm missing something. I'm seeing creators that used to talk about God and is going to get on here and compromise their belief, religion, faith to celebrate death. We're talking about something that's biblical that you should never do. And folks is coming on here doing it. So I said, I got to deep dive into what he said because is he on the status of Hitler? What am I missing? And somebody said, well, he would have did that for you. Well, I don't care. My morals would never allow me to celebrate death. Doesn't matter who it is. So the fact that you've been compromised, I have to get down to the bottom of it. And not just one person, too many. So y'all encouraged me to go down this rabbit hole to figure out what bro has said for this hate to be sparked up or maybe revealed in a lot of people. And I'm almost satisfied because now I started looking into stuff and I'm like, dang, so you felt like this. Your hate and evilness has been revealed within you. But what you said to what he said is cap. That's not even what he said. That's not even in the full context. So now I'm just starting to, oh, that was a lie. Oh, that was a lie. Wow. So, so now I don't know.
So this is really the reality of it, is that most people take talking points. Most people was not familiar with Charlie Kirk. Most of the people that are complaining about him or had something negative to say or even celebrated his passing, they had no clue what Charlie Kirk actually stood for. If they watched the full context of the videos, I'm pretty sure that they would have a better understanding of where he stood. But they basically trying to paint him to be one of the worst people in history because he was trying to stand up for traditional values, bring back people into God, hold people accountable for what it is that they did to their communities, take people out of the Victim Olympics, and have honest, meaningful debate on student campuses that endeared him to younger people, that brought them back into the Republican fold and got them away from the indoctrination camp that was happening over at the left. And then they followed all of their leaders right down into the mire with all of this false propaganda in order to try to assassinate his name.
100%. 100%. And when I saw that for the first time, my mind immediately went to my own experience as a teenager during the ascendancy of Rush Limbaugh. So we're talking the 90s, right? Like 95, between 95 and 97, somewhere in that zone is when I found Rush Limbaugh. And the reason why I found him is the exact same reason why this guy just found Charlie Kirk. It was because the left was apoplectic and they were delusional and out of their minds. They called Rush Limbaugh a grand wizard of the KKK. Now, just as a little bit of political advice for y'all, my Democrat rivals, the flaw in your strategy there is that if you make those types of abhorrently inaccurate claims about your opposition, people like me and people like this dude are going to be inclined to be like, well, gee, I want to check that out. You're telling me there's a grand wizard that's being platformed on national radio and television? Limbaugh had a TV program at the time. You're telling me that a fascist is being celebrated by half the country? Like, you make those ridiculous claims, and what it does is it prompts people who didn't know Charlie Kirk, or in my case, didn't know Rush Limbaugh, to check them out, to listen to what they have to say. And the outcome of me checking out Rush Limbaugh is this right here. Republican state representative in Minnesota, under the shadow of Tim Walz, taking it to the left daily and just wrecking them left and right. Okay? And the difference between then, where I was in the 90s, and now, there were certain things we didn't have in the 90s. We didn't have social media. We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have X. We had the internet, graciously granted to us by Al Gore, right? We had the internet, but it was not what it is now. I was a weirdo in the 90s for even caring about the public discourse. Like, most kids, even myself, like most kids growing up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we weren't watching the evening news. We didn't know what was going on in the world, and we also didn't care. Like, right? Like, this is one of the things that I've noticed about the current generation of kids is that they are so plugged in. The current generation of youth is so plugged into what is going on in the world around them. And the reason why is because of this technology, because of social media, because of the phones that they have in their pockets. They're informed. They know what's going on, right? And that wasn't the case when I was growing up. There were like 3 things that caught kids' attention as I was growing up, like the Challenger explosion, the fall of the Berlin Wall, and Monica Lewinsky. Like, those were the 3 things that we were like, oh, well, that's pretty noteworthy, right? Like, other than that, we weren't watching Barbara Walters or 60 Minutes. Like, nobody cared, right? We were just living our lives. We were just being kids. But things have changed. This generation of youth is plugged in. And what I experienced back then with Limbaugh and what this guy just experienced with Charlie Kirk is happening by an order of magnitude. You have just, to quote Joseph from the Bible, what you meant for evil, God has purposed for good. You, unwittingly, have become the evangelists for our cause. You are driving people to actually take a look at what it is that we have on offer. And what we have on offer is Western civilization, which, short of heaven, is unquestionably the greatest way to live. Even the poorest person, like even somebody who's actually homeless, right? Like, a homeless person living on the street is a king compared to the vast majority of every human being who has ever lived on every corner of this earth, because they benefit from the lifting of all boats that is the United States of America, liberty, the constitutional republic, capitalism, all the things you hate, all the things you think need to be dismantled. And you've just awoken an entire generation to that fact. And you think that's going to go well for you? It ain't. And so, here's where I want to land on this is I had an epiphany over the weekend. It totally tied to what I saw from that memorial for Charlie Kirk. The gospel just boiling over from every speaker, and that stadium full of Americans worshiping the Lord our God, in honor of Charlie, right? The mission going forward. Listen, I could be fairly characterized as extraordinarily partisan. I think that's fair. I don't think anybody would disagree with that, right? Like, I'm not a big fan of Democrats. I'm not a big fan of the Democrat Party. I don't have a lot of grace for the people who have enabled the horrors that have been dispensed upon my state of Minnesota and the United States of America more broadly, and the march through the institutions that these folks have engaged in. Not a big fan. But what I realized this weekend is that there's a new partisanship. There's a new partisan divide. And it's not between Republicans and Democrats. It's not between the left and right, which are completely artificial constructs that actually serve to distract us from the actual value that we should be pursuing. Because there was a time in this country where Republicans and Democrats were the loyal opposition to one another, right? Like JFK versus Nixon. Those two guys agreed on way more than the average Republican candidate and the average Democrat candidate agree on today. They agreed on things like communists are bad, we should defeat the Soviets, socialism is bad, right? Boys are boys, girls are girls. And that homogeny of thought was the glue that held our society together. Certainly, both of them agreed that the United States should be a thing, right? Like JFK did not have on his to-do list the dismantling of the United States of America, the dismantling of our institutions, right? The dismantling of the church. He was a Catholic, okay? So the path forward goes beyond the political, and it's truly bipartisan in the specific sense that it is not enough for we as Republicans to say you should vote for us and don't vote for them. Like that is inadequate. We are on a rescue mission now. And it's a rescue mission that includes not just Republicans, but independents and sane Democrats. The Democrats, like some of my legislative colleagues, who despite their voting record, they've made abhorrent votes, and they should be held accountable for that. But when you talk to them, again, in a shady booth in a restaurant somewhere in St. Paul, they'll tell you, these people I'm working alongside are nuts. But they can't pop their head above the trench line because they will be taken out. Perhaps literally, but certainly metaphorically in the sense of being primaried, right? Like we see this tendency within the Democrat Party where it's just going further and further and further and further to the left. And that's unsustainable. We can't have one political party that's for America and another political party that wants to dismantle it. We can't have one political party that's for decency and another political party that is eager to dance on the grave of their political opponents before the spouse has even had a chance to put their partner in the ground. So merely defeating them in 2026, which we absolutely must do, merely defeating them is not enough. We need to call them back into the American project. We actually need to counterintuitively, we need to rebuild the Democrat Party, which, because it's currently infested with an abhorrent ideology, means we first have to fumigate and raze to the ground politically. But after that, there must be a rebuilding of a alternate party, a loyal opposition that will compete with us toward liberty, that will compete with us toward prosperity. That they might have different ideas about how to get to the goal, but they have the same damn goals. That's what we need. And currently we don't have it. We don't have two parties that have the same goals. We don't have two parties that agree that America should even exist as such. And this goes all the way back to 2008 when Barack Obama said he wanted to fundamentally transform the United States. What he meant was he wanted to dismantle it and turn it into something else. Well, buddy, you're about to get a dose of your own medicine, because we are going to fundamentally transform the Democrat Party. We're going to transform it into something else than it currently is. And the first step in doing that is wiping the floor with you in 2026. Taking back Minnesota. Winning statewide. Taking majorities. Because in order to break the back, metaphorically, in order to break the back of the current dominance of insanity within the Democrat Party, they must suffer utter and complete political defeat. And past that point, our stewardship as governing Republicans should not be to try to solidify our position and try to create an environment where Democrats never win again and just maintain this dichotomy, maintain this division. No, our project should be to graciously and earnestly invite that party back into the American project and to uplift leaders like Dean Phillips, who Dean Phillips is never going to become a Republican, right? Like he doesn't agree with us on policy, but he's not a socialist, right? Like he doesn't want to dismantle the institutions. Like that should be the floor, right? The floor of acceptable political intent should be you want to be an American with all that comes alongside. And so but the Democrat Party, they're not going to go there. They're not going to go there of their own volition. They have to be compelled, which means they have to lose, and they have to lose so big that their donors and their leaders and the people who are in a position to have influence over the future of what that party looks like, that they look at each other and they say, we're doing something different. We got to go back to JFK. Hell, I'll take Bill Clinton, not Hillary, but I'll take Bill. Like at this point, Bill Clinton, who said that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. Boy, I would take that deal in a heartbeat right now. Bill Clinton, who said the era of big government is over. I mean, it wasn't, obviously, but the fact that he felt compelled to say that said something about the culture. It said something about where his party was at that time. That's what we need to get back to. And I have an abiding confidence, which is something that I have to confess I have not had. You know, for all my tough talk, I've been vulnerable to despair in the face of the things that we've been seeing in this state in particular, in Minnesota. But after the last couple of weeks, and certainly after yesterday, after the Kirk Memorial, I believe we're going to restore our republic. And I can feel it in the air that a lot of you believe it too. And that confidence is going to carry us forward to the finish line. Take care.